What's going on, everybody? It's your host, the Crypto Wonder. Hope you're doing well. Let's get right into it. A few days ago, I want to say at least a week ago, in the middle or in the beginning of this weird debate on which chains or which token on, the chains are going to be abandoned versus the other. I made a video talking about how no one person really outside of in my guess outside of really the founder can really control or have a huge say on which way people should go in a free market. I mentioned how ultimately the market decides. It's in the title of the video. Like, come on now. It was in from what I remember, the title was something like, your narrative is not mine. Like, you don't speak for me. Don't, the market will decide. And it you see people sort of like still twisted in their feelings and feeling angry and upset and frustrated and want to fight. Not like literally, but who knows? But no longer talking to each other and videos throwing insults at each other back and forth and behind the scenes and Telegram groups and weird stuff. And I say to myself, what type of long-term vision did y'all really have? If you're so focused and concentrated on the now, on the everyday, God bless y'all. Because how you gonna last years? How you gonna last long term if every day you're living in a state of like you're magnifying everything along the lines of what your position is with this debate thing and guess what? There was an issue. Somebody issued a tweet, basically saying that this whole debate thing was pretty much talked about. Richard talked about this some time ago. He talked about it, and he frankly said that there are possibilities for anything, but ultimately he doesn't know. He doesn't know what's going to outdo, which coin on which chain is going to outdo the other. I'm talking about Hex on Ethereum versus Hex on Pulse. He doesn't know. He's going to let the market decide. Now, whether that was a politically correct thing to say, whether that was something he was trying to say to avoid, scrutiny by regulatory bodies, that's neither here nor there. He said it, and I didn't even hear him say this. I was just applying common sense, right? But this is what the market will decide. At some point, folks, you got to use your brain. You have to use your brain. And some of these narratives and these positions that these people have, this word narrative has been just driven to the ground in so many different ways. And folks have been saying narrative, including me. expand my vocabulary. But the people who are on both sides of the spectrum, both sides, like, what is it? What is it? When you want to talk about it, still one token. Like, to me, it's like, yo, this thing is one thing. It is what it is. It's one thing. It's one thing. Meaning, hex is hex, right? Hex is hex. You don't like that you can buy hex at a certain store. You don't mess with the store. That's your choice. But hex is there. You don't support the store that you see they're selling hex. You don't have to go to that store. That's your choice. There are people who are actually going to entertain every store that they can buy hex in, though. Believe that. Believe that. And it doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter what you think that you may know or understand and feel is irrelevant. Because again, the market will decide. I don't care if you're a whale, I don't care whatever. I don't care if you've been in the space for 13 years, 6 months, 3 weeks and 2 days and 4 hours. It doesn't matter. The market inevitably decides what's what. Point blank, period. We're still, like, to me, we're still in the bear market. If for people who haven't been in crypto and who are just coming in, and you're not only new, but you haven't experienced the different cycles in this space, do not believe for an instant right now that this is a bull market or the beginnings of a bull market, because it is not, especially in this community. It's not. I don't care what anybody tells you to want to show you analytics and technicals and charts and all this kind of stuff. If they can't substantiate their claims with solid facts, and maybe some can, but the real deal is it's not a bull market right now. There is a huge difference between the bear market and not only the bear market. There are levels within the bear market, right? There are levels where you feel extreme pressure. If you succumb to the pressure of uncertainty and people being angry and feeling anxious and all that, like, there's levels within the bear market period. And then the bull market is something the extreme opposite. I mean, everyone is happy. You could throw money at anything and make money. It's that real. It's borderline ridiculous. That's how real it is. It is so real, it is utterly ridiculous. It's amazing. That's not the time period that we're in. We're not in that phase right now as far as bull market. So when you're hearing folks who have already experienced cycles, they've already have done very well in crypto, and if you're coming in and you want to do very well, your position and a position from someone else who succeeded and made millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars is completely different than yours. You both have two different perspectives. So you can't always align your ideas and thoughts with someone else when they've already made it. You're talking about people who are talking as if they're just like, the supreme maximum authorities of everything related to crypto and markets because of whatever experience that they've had up to this point in life, trying to tell you what to do with your money, with your time, with your investment, and trying to tell you that they have the absolute truth and try to say to you and convince you that they have been accurate most of the time, by way to try to imply that their crystal ball is 90% clear, 90% accurate, and deal with their 90% perspectives on being right. They could kick rocks because their their reality is not your reality, especially if you could barely make ends meet, but you're trying to find a way out coming into crypto. You can easily get confused. You can easily trick yourself out of situations by believing people who do not have your best interests at heart, folks. Is that real? It is that real. You have to apply extreme level of common sense. Because just because someone might be very knowledgeable does not mean that they have certain sensibilities that to keep themselves safe, keep themselves balanced, keep themselves grounded in reality. A person could be very book smart. A person could be astute, right? Have the just sharp academic acumen, right? High levels of study in different fields it does not mean that they know how to make money. It does not mean that they know how to preserve money. It does not mean that they know how to make that money multiply for themselves. It just means in some cases that luck was on their side. And you couple that with a couple things that they might have learned in school here and there, and voila, they made it. And they have some, academic breadth of knowledge to support whatever they got to say to make you believe that they're familiar with the space and everything, the goings on with it. No, forget about all that. Because we all, and especially in the Western world, first world, understand money, understand it. Whatever level of education you have, good or bad, indifferent, you understand that we need money to get to point A and point B and do what we have to do to survive. Most of us are not living off the grid. Most of us have to kowtow to the man, to the system that's governing all of this. We're trying to use crypto to balance things out and perhaps pay for our freedom, because everything costs. When you're listening to people talk to you, that's costly. That's an opportunity cost right there, because you probably are wasting your time receiving baseless, unnecessary, basically garbage information that's going to do you no good and bring no value to your life. It's actually going to cause you to get emotional and make a rash decision that you will inevitably regret, possibly for the rest of your life. When I saw that tweet come out and him basically say, him meaning Richard Hart, basically say the market's going to have to decide because he doesn't know how things are going to turn out. He may very well, to keep it real, he may very well want everyone to just focus on Pulse Chain. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? If it's something you created, we know how proud Richard is, right? Why wouldn't he want everybody to just flock to Pulse Chain? But can you really, this is why I say maybe it was politically correct thing to say, the market will decide, but it's not only politically correct, it's beyond being politically correct. The truth is that's what it is. The market will decide, because even up till now, over 3.5 years later after he created Hex, folks still want to pretend like Pulse Chain doesn't exist. People still want to dismiss Hex. People still want to say Pulse X and Pulse Chain. Anything Richard Hart created is a scam. So let's put things, in a certain group, things in a certain perspective, so we can understand what's really in front of us here. You have people who are rich already, trying to tell you or others what they think you should do. Imagine you telling them what you think they should do. You think they would listen? No. They would call you a pleb. They would call you a sheep, right? They would dismiss anything coming out of your mouth, even though you may very well be right. But because they're too self-absorbed and have their own secret agendas, right? They're not going to even consider entertaining anything anyone has to say outside of their own hive, their own personal echo chamber, because that's all it is. That's all it is. So I say this to say, it's interesting, the immaturity that it's interesting how folks show you who they are. Money has a way, and they have always said it's the root of all evil, because it brings the worst out of people. It brings the best out of people too. But if you're a person who has certain characteristics or personality, style, and proclivity, money just basically highlights it. It highlights who you are. It highlights who you are. If you're a piece of crap of a person and you come into money, you just can continue to be a piece of crap of a person. It's just that you have money. If you're a kind, very giving, compassionate person, you're going to be the same way, except you just have more money. You understand? So you have individuals who just show you. They show you. And unfortunately, I want to say people, but I can't even say that, because as far as intentions go, I don't really like thinking about intentions anymore, because they say, and it's true, the road to hell was paved with good intentions. My thing is, because even Richard even said it in that thing, in the video, it's like a 2.5-minute video explaining his position with this whole, answering a question regarding which is better, E-hex over P-hex, whatever. He did say, look, be careful which side you pick. Richard and his old, sort of like ambiguous answers, and kind of leaves you in a position where you feel like you have to decode his words and demystify his riddles. In other words, if you already were on using Ethereum and you got copied over to Pulse Chain, why put yourself in a thing of this turmoil of picking and choosing something? Do you have time to exercise, to mentally drain yourself and right, get into a space of thinking, oh, what should I pick? What should I do? This and that. No, you have both. Relax, live, do what you have to do in life. Who has the time to this? I mean, really, I understand there's a lot of money on the table, but it's still arbitrary, and it's still something that the market will have to decide. And we have to just allow time, live through time, and wait and see how things unfold. That's something that we all have to agree, that we can't help any of that. We don't have any time machines to move in the future, live in the future to see how things are going to be. Nope, we can't move time any quicker than how it's moving and progressing. Some circles believe that time and space doesn't even exist, but that's a conversation for another story, another day. Story for another day. Again, no one could tell the future. When you hear someone tells you how accurate they are, often run. And unfortunately, man, I already see who's been the most vocal about these things and these topics, and it is what it is, man. Now, this is why folks forget. When people follow you and people listen to you, and you're held in a certain level of respect, that's something that you should honor as a human being. If you're looked favorably in life and respected because you're a person that seems like you represent a certain level of honor, a certain level of integrity, right? You support what you say by what you do. That you should take that seriously. But we see how folks here in this space do not take that seriously. Sometimes it's like, wow, you guys are millionaires and you forgot what it is to be real. You guys got some money and you forgot what it is to really connect with people from the meager beginnings of whence you came. Because a lot of them come from humble beginnings, broken homes, poverty. They'll tell you the story and it's just going to be nothing different than you and me. And then they reach a level and it's like, oh, posterity, this just, their heads are in space. They're no longer connected and touching the pulse of the people. They're not connected with the pulse of the people. They're connected with something else that they created and contrived among themselves in their own hive. It's sad, but it's reality. It's reality, folks. And personally, whatever, I hope they do well in life, but hey, like I said, people, don't get worked up either way. The market's going to decide. I could tell you everything in 100 different things and be completely steadfast in my opinion, right? Immovable. Can't move me. This is what I believe how things are going to unfold. And then turn out that I'm 100% wrong because the market had different ideas. Could I, by myself, control a market? No, I cannot. Can anyone in the Hex community really control a market? Nah. Some may say the only person who may be able to do it, which he'll never admit, is Richard, especially tied to, this entity called the OA. He'll never admit that he owns it, but hey, he's the only person who could remotely come close to having an idea, a guess, an intelligent guess, of maybe thinking, oh, he might be the only one who could, who could send a message out and things could move in a certain direction. Only him, though. And he even said, look, we're going to let the market decide. Spirit of decentralization, huh? I'll tell you. It never ends. So that's it. I see, the PulseX liquidity pools version 2 was issued. Well, not issued, but upgrade was launched and it's live. It is what it is. I'm glad the chain is active. Period. That's really it for me. I'm just glad Pulse Chain is active. How about that? Just more so than PulseX, because Pulse Chain was the first out of the sacrifice sets, and I have nothing against PulseX, like nothing. I'm glad PulseX is here too, but Pulse Chain was like the first. July 2021. That's when the sacrifice period started for this ecosystem to expand, and here we are. But look, don't forget to apply and use your common sense, people. If something feels wrong, you feel it in your stomach, you're hearing something that just doesn't connect with you, like you're like, why, like it just stirs up some confusion and concern and stuff. Pay attention to that. And then when something sounds a little bit too good, pay attention to that as well. That's all I gotta say to y'all, Stay focused, people. Never forget that. And I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.